My name is Agi Patricia Turomwe, and I'm the founder and CEO at Agile Media Africa. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. We'll explore the importance of sustainability communication in driving eco-friendly efforts, especially from the angle of easy housing. So the listeners, you do have an opportunity to gain insights from leaders championing sustainability initiatives and offering practical guidance and fostering eco-conscious practices. To kick things off, we actually had Sulaiman, who had to cancel last minute. He couldn't find enough information to help him make a decision on whether to attend this webinar or not. But Brian, we're very lucky that you're actually here to share your valuable insights and practical tips on how you're communicating easy housing's messaging, especially to highlight the eco-friendly efforts. I'd love to start off with highlighting why we also like to focus on climate change, and we enjoy working with clients and seeing the impact they actually achieve. So we are really committed in helping organizations bring more awareness and promote sustainable practices. So it might be as small as seeing people separate their trash, plastics from the degradable stuff or the papers. We're quite interested in seeing other organizations that are writing white papers or publishing reports or adhere to certifications and standards. We are quite excited to see those in academia who engage and educate people. We love to keep seeing influencers in this industry raising awareness, leveraging their digital platforms to bring their message to life and also drive impact. We are also very working with communities, others just reducing waste. For example, my email signature, I have something in the lines of rethink printing this copy if you don't need it. So everybody has a responsibility to at least take one step or take part in this movement, especially for Uganda. It will affect our country. Those organizations that are saving energy, they're writing in the hotel rooms that you need to use less water. If it works and helps us reduce emissions, we are happy for it. There's another client, GGGI. We had a team building session and they told us they had green procurement policies, green events, and we thought that was interesting. In this realm still, effective communication for sustainability efforts can really drive significant eco-friendly actions. We see a lot of this, and we are going to hear from you, Brian, within your industry. It's really more than just sharing what you're doing, but it's also inspiring others when they're trying to get into the industry in that way, because whatever every organization does actually does have a ripple effect, positive or negative, on the environment. So we also need to be aware of the whitewashing and greenwashing. So some organizations will say, oh, we don't do this, but what they actually do is detrimental to the environment, or greenwashing in the sense that they're misleading consumers on the environmental benefits of their products. I feel like effective sustainability communication can also help build trust and loyal beneficiaries or customers to enhance that brand's reputation and differentiate you from the marketplace. So throughout this webinar, we'll dive deeper into the various strategies and tools to craft compelling sustainability messages, engage your audience, and amplify your message. So if you're a young organization, you're just starting out your sustainability journey, you're just looking to refine your communication approach, we are always helping organizations think through their strategy. You'll find value and takeaways to implement from this webinar. I'm so honored to introduce Brian. Brian, welcome to the webinar. Please share with us your journey in terms of easy housing. What are your contributions?
Thank you so much, Agile Media, for hosting me. It's such a great honor and an opportunity for the world out there to know the tremendous effort that Easy Housing has put forward to join the campaign on how we can build back better while fighting this climate change. Before I go any further, maybe let me first introduce myself so that the audience out there can know who I am and why I'm also one of the people who are standing on the right side of history. My name is Brian Kulubya, and I have a background in sustainable forestry. And I work at Easy Housing as a forestry expert but also I work as a sales representative to sell positive solutions, affordable housing solutions to the world. But today what I'm going to talk about is the journey of easy housing and why easy housing and why did we come up with this concept. Easy housing is a circular and bio-based building concept based on sustainable society timber. We use timber that has been sourced from well-managed to build homes, and the entire system is based on a method of construction which we call prefabrication. Why did we come up with this concept? We discovered, especially in Uganda, the housing deficit is big. Uganda, as a country, we have a housing deficit of 2.4 million units. And we also discovered that another problem that could rise up while we are trying to meet this housing deficit is that the construction industry accounts for 40% of the global carbon dioxide emissions, with the cement and steel industry alone accounting for 80%. So we were like, how can we fill this gap without harming the environment? Because statistics shows that the resource extraction that is required to build or fix these gaps consume energy, which is about for all the global energy that is required. So everything is very, very high. And yet there was a positive solution, which is timber. Actually, of all the building materials out there in the world, timber is the only carbon negative material. When I say carbon negative, I mean it's the only material that does not emit carbon dioxide emissions. And so once you build a structure with timber, you are not only contributing to providing someone with a home, but you are also storing carbon in the long run. So Easy Housing is a Dutch-based company. It's a subsidiary of Easy Building Concept BV. We are incorporated in Uganda as Easy Housing Concepts Uganda Limited. Our target mainly is that we build houses that to meet the urban sector or the urban segment, but we also have affordable housing solutions for people in the humanitarian context. For instance, people who are always on the move, where we have done it in West Nile. But our biggest focus is so far on the urban market because this is where the gap is most recently. Kampala itself, if I'm to dissect the housing deficit, it has about a need of 200,000 houses. And of all the existing structures in Kampala, about 900,000 of them are substandard. These are the slums you will meet everywhere that have not been built on plan, that have been built with materials that are not eco-friendly. But also in rural areas, there is a gap of about 3.25 million units. These are the houses that are needed to be fixed in rural areas. If you move in different parts of the country, you will see that the structures were not built well. So out of all this is where Easy Housing fits in. We partnered with sustainable forestry companies, for instance, in Uganda, Soga Forest Company, because we saw that they have planted trees and they have a management plan whereby they can harvest trees for over 20 years without running out of timber. And they have been certified, meaning they have gone through all the processes that are required to produce wood without harming the environment. So our mission is to provide a home for everyone, which is comfortable, healthy, but also affordable. And we came up with this concept not only to provide a home, but we want also to disrupt and the construction industry. Because you see, 40% of all these emissions, there's no way you are going to continue saying that you are fighting climate change when the structures you are building are of cement. Cement is very poisonous. Extracting it needs a lot of energy. Look at steel, it needs a lot of energy. But with the timber, actually our concept does not use water. So you can build a structure in 4 months and people are ready to set up. And because I talked about the concept of circularity, I mean, for instance, we are not using glue, but we are using screws, and we are not using nails, but screws, meaning you can have this structure fixed with the screws, but should you change your mind after some period of time, you can even relocate this house and set up it in another place without having to damage. So all this concept of circularity is what a circular economy will need, because there is no way you are creating waste in the system, but you are eliminating waste as much as possible.
Brian, you get such valuable insights there. Hardly did I know that timber does not emit any carbon at all. I wonder how many tree species, because maybe not so long ago, last week, I was trying to speak with a prospective client, and a friend was telling me, why would people plant trees if they are planting eucalyptus, right? So what are the benefits of timber in your opinion, before we can go on to Betty and then back for the Q&A?
Why should one build with timber? First of all, I may communicate this in two different aspects. First of all, it's a lightweight material. Timber is very light and it gives a good look on the structure. And it's also good to work with if you are built with timber and you want to apply these other finishings, the paintworks, structure will look nice. As if that is not the most important. But the most important part of the timber is that it is a regenerative material. Today, you can plant eucalyptus, and after 8 years, you are harvesting it. The same applies to pine. You are planting it today, but within a short period of time, 15 years, you are cutting the pine. I'm talking about larger tree growers planting on over 900 hectares, whereby they know that I will be able to harvest this timber within 15 years. And by that time, the point at which I would have started harvesting would have regenerated. So timber can regenerate. But let me tell you, once you extract cement, we don't know how many millions of years it will take to have that cement replaced, because it's not a renewable material, but timber is renewable. You can cut today, replant like that. So as the human population keeps on increasing, so will our needs, like accommodation, which is also a human right. We shall keep on having these materials planted, and also you must have heard that when a tree is growing, it absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by a process called photosynthesis.
Right.
These are the poisonous gases that we are talking about that are contributing to the greenhouse effect. When you have your timber, your trees out there, they are absorbing these gases from the atmosphere, and they use these gases to make food, which they call starch. But this food is stored in form of wood. So at 15 years, for instance, if it was pine, we shall harvest that tree. The tree will go through a process, and a process which is about treatment, giving it a long-term durability. So after that preservation, we shall use it for constructing. When you use timber that has been successfully grown through a well-managed system, we will form what we call a construction stored carbon structure. The carbon that was captured during photosynthesis has been stored in the timber, and now we are storing it in the long term for even 100 years. So you are not only getting a home, but you are getting a structure that is storing tons and tons of carbon. A basic example I can give is that 100 square meter home that we built stores 20 tons of carbon. So we are looking at impact. When you say that we are communicating impact, we are looking at what impact are we creating. If we are each home of 100 square meters stores 20 tons of carbon from the atmosphere, that is a very big change we shall have caused in the environment, because we shall have reduced very many gases from the atmosphere. And now if 1,000 people go for 1,000 homes, these are over 20 tons of gases that would have been stored in the home. They will never be released unless when you choose to let the structure to decompose. Or you may wonder, like, how are these gases quantified? How do you know that you're storing the gases? The basic example I can say is that if you have a piece of tree, a piece of wood, which has been dry, and you burn it, you're going to see smoke coming out of it. That smoke that is coming out of the piece of wood that you are burning is the carbon I'm talking about. So instead of burning it or leaving it to decompose, now we are storing it in its raw form, which is now a structure that is used for as a home.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian, for now. I will ask Miss Betty to come in with her observations.
First of all, thank you, Brian, for your insights. I'll just talk about transparent communication practices. So in everything that you do, we always take it back to the communications perspective, because we are a communications agency. How do you build transparent communications practices? We have seen in the past, I think 10 years, a lot of companies in Uganda have employed CSR departments in their organizations for this very specific purpose, because they've seen the need for sustainability practices in their companies, but also the need to communicate them transparently to different stakeholders, such as government, their customers, and their employees. So why do you need transparent communications practices? The main point is to build trust and credibility. What does that do for you? It just discloses the organizations' commitment to accountability. When organizations show their shortcomings and their successes in building sustainability with their companies, this shows that the company is willing to take responsibility, especially companies like Total or Vivo, companies whose operations have a huge impact on them. Another reason why a lot of companies will do this to build trust, to enhance their reputation and brand value. If you go to MTN's website right now, you'll find a sustainability report every year. Why do they do this? For positive public perception. And also for differentiation in the market. These companies have realized that in this world that we're living in, a lot of, especially investors, want to see that your company is contributing to the environment. So this is really good for public perception and differentiation in the market. Then another point of why companies might want to do this is to facilitate continuous improvement. So just for benchmarking and goal settings and identifying challenges and solutions. So this just goes back to how open communications will allow stakeholders to be informed. So when stakeholders have relevant information on what the company is doing, they're easy to benchmark. For example, is Total Uganda doing enough for the environment compared to Total Tanzania? And then the next issue they look at is regulatory compliance and risk management. Certain governments, for example, under the Ministry of Environment, they may have certain regulatory measures that every company, for example, in oil, has to take in order to operate in Uganda. So a lot of this transparent communications is just to appease government officials, which is necessary, especially for managing risks associated with how they may impact, how a company's actions might impact the environment. So what are the key practical elements for effective transparent communication? Regular reporting over your measures that you're taking, clear and accessible information, and stakeholder engagement through different ways. I'll give an example of how MTN, which I used as my case study. This is their sustainability report. So they'll just have a section on responding to our stakeholders. So their main issues for network performance, business performance, and then impact on socio-economic development. They'll show you how they're responding to their stakeholders using their sustainability reports. And just to quickly go to the top, this is MTN South Africa. The group president will always own the sustainability report because he has to account to his board members and investors on what the company is doing in regards to their sustainability measures. So this is how it may look like. For example, here a lot of companies are now doing this. For example, their vision for 2025. They're doing it for planet, doing it for people. These are some of the things a lot of companies are looking at now. Most of the companies in their taglines, they have doing it for planet, doing it for people, because we have all come to a point in our corporate governance where people realize that they have a responsibility to the environment through their operations.
Thank you so much, Betty. First of all, I like the similarity between MTN and Easy Housing. If you look at MTN, the visuals are quite clear within the brand guidelines, same colors, beautiful imagery, and so do you see for Easy Housing. If you look at what they put on their Instagram, it's the same look and feel. So what I would want for Brian to speak to probably now would be the user-generated content. You have a few testimonials of people who have bought the houses, talk about that. It's normally a strategy we actually advocate for in terms of creating content for your brand. Brian, why do you feel the need for actual customers or actual beneficiaries of your project speak to their experience?
Thank you so much, Betty. About our content and why do we nowadays want our customers to give testimonials of what we are producing. I feel it's one way of spreading the information from one person to another, because over time, it has also been realized that when such new concepts come in the market, at times the trust from the public is sometimes not as fast as it's always expected, because you will look at a timber house, but you will still have very many questions at the back of your mind. However much I may try to convince you and I tell you that it is storing carbon, it's built out of timber that will last for 100 years, but you will need to actually get that feel. You are saying, like, what if a thief comes? What if fire? What if someone burns me in this house? So all these perceptions are always there out in the world, and the people are always looking into this. But the idea of us having our satisfied customers speak by themselves of how they are feeling about the product is what we want to show to the people out there, that they are not the only ones. People will, in most cases, will like the product because they have seen that actually it is possible. Someone else has tried it and is living in it and have not found any problem. So that's why for us, actually, customer feedback is very important, especially in this present day world whereby there are very many concepts or technologies that are coming up on the market, but people will still be looking forward to hear that. I want to know anyone whom you have already done for it. Where have you built these homes? Who stays in the timber house? But if someone comes up and say, actually, I've been living in this house and so far I've not found any problem, I'm feeling comfortable, and these are some of the new changes that have come in my life ever since I got this house, it will give confidence to the public. And even a customer who was having doubt, they will say, yes, I think I can go for it. I will not be alone. And that's one way we shall communicate the impact, because we at Easy Housing, we have 5 things that we are communicating our impact. If you go on our websites, if you go on our catalogs, we are looking at 5 major things. For instance, how much carbon are we storing in the structure that we are removing from the environment, and how many happy inhabitants are going to be in this home. For instance, we believe that an average home will have 5 happy inhabitants. Then we are also looking at how many green jobs are created. On an average home we build, at least 20 jobs are created. Someone working on a job that is green, the entire concept is a green building. Then we are also looking at the biodiversity. What is the value we are putting back in the ecosystem in terms of whatever we are doing? So when you look at all these 5 metrics that we are looking into, and it's what keeps up every morning actually to work on this. We don't want to divert away from it. We want to stick to the mission that there are people who are happy. There is carbon removed from the environment. There is forest area that is sustained. An average home that we build sustains an equivalent of a football field that is full of trees. Whenever we are building an average home, our partners will replant an equivalent of a football field that is full of trees. So if there are 100 homes, those are 100 football fields of trees that are planted. So in one way, a person may say, you guys, I imagine how many forests were cut down to put up that one single home. But the question would be, I would imagine how many forests were replanted when that one home was cut. And the answer would be a football pitch. We can say 0.5 hectare, but the basic way you can see it is a football field full of trees. That's what we create.
That is fantastic. Brian, I must commend how articulate you are on communicating the facts, a lot of statistics since we started this webinar. I think that is also very key in communicating impact. And in your opinion, what communication challenges do organizations like yours have?
Yeah, the biggest communication challenge that organizations like ours sometimes have, I can say, when a new technology is there in the market, first of all, you will find a lot of criticism from some few people out there. And if you are not actually willing to go an extra mile, you may give up, because you will find people out there who will give you 1,000 reasons as to why they may not go for that new technology that you have brought there out in the market. And if you are not actually very passionate about your product, you may say, maybe I should go back on the drawing board and I think twice.
Absolutely.
But this requires resilience, whereby you have to defend your product. If you don't defend it, the customer will not find a way for choosing you. So there is some kind of criticism that we always find while trying to communicate impact. And also another challenge we find that still there is lack of enough information concerning these new concepts that are coming up on the market. For instance, when I will be talking about the timber construction concept, the first thing people will look around to will say, where in Uganda have these houses been constructed? Can you give the best scenario where a structure has been in existence for 100 years? Luckily enough, we are lucky that in Uganda, the construction technology of timber houses was there before, but it had not evolved. Look at the Nyerere house in Makerere, which was built around 1913 and has been standing for a very long period of over 90 years. That is the structure actually that we can benchmark on. But when you go deeper on the sides of Kasese, along the Chilembe mines, you will see that there is a street of timber homes that were built there very long period of time. And this has not been documented well. So it will be still very hard to communicate all these things out there to the world, because people will say, there is no way, because the information about what you are talking about has not yet been widespread as compared to other new concepts, which like user-friendly, the information is already out there. So the market itself will try to reject the concept until you have to prove them. That's why testimonials like this are very key. In fact, it's one of the things we faced earlier as we are starting up, whereby we were talking about the concept, but we did not have a finish that people can look at. So even if it were you, it would be hard for you to say, how does that house look like? But when we produced the concept and we brought it on the market and people could come, stay inside, have a look, touch, and feel, our communication was very streamlining. So sometimes it's very hard to communicate what you are talking about unless you have a prototype. You need a prototype of what you are talking about. However much you have beautiful speeches, beautiful statistics, people will not believe in you. They want something which is working, not something that is that's just is in theory. You have something on PowerPoint, but you cannot put it out in reality. So I think it was also another serious challenge that we faced. And most organizations that are trying to communicate will still have these challenges. For us, we know, because we have done research, that even there are houses that have been built in the previous past centuries and they have been standing for over 200 years, but they have been timber houses. So unless there is enough documented on the product, you need to communicate.
Maybe just one question before we go. You have talked about the communities that actually benefit from your organization, the reforestation. Why is it important for you to actually measure the activities of Easy Housing?
Yeah, actually, Easy Housing's foundation was based on impact. We want to create impact in the world out there. It's not only about making money, because when you look at the 3 Ps that were brought out by the different organizations about the people, the planet, and the profit, it doesn't if you're only looking at the profit. But why are we communicating these things out there? It's something that it's on our heart. It's at the core of the company that we need to communicate the impact. But why? First of all, we want to be part of the biggest movement that is fighting climate change. And for us to fight climate change, we are looking at concepts that are mitigating the effect, but are also resilient. For instance, when I say that these homes are flood resilient, yes, you know that climate change has caused this kind of catastrophes, and the traditional homes that we are having cannot mitigate. But if we are building a structure which is raised off the ground, and even in a flooding season, water can easily just pass over the ground and people will be saved from the flood, the worst that can happen, the house can turn into Noah's Ark. Someone once mentioned it. But we have to communicate this out to people out there, so that wherever you are, you know that climate change, the worst has already happened, but if I'm to survive in the effects or the aftermath of the climate change, then I need to look out for solutions. So people will start Googling, people will start looking for texts, television. How can I survive in such an area that is so prone to floods? Then that's when they say, oh, there is a concept called Easy Housing, whereby you can build this house here and it can withstand the floods. The house can be relocated from one place to another without damage. But also, we want to show people, get a clear image. If Agile Media was to have a question that, but these guys are building a lot of houses there, and they're causing deforestation, we want to provide the right information to the public that actually we are just doing the opposite. We are promoting deforestation initiatives. But then you ask that, how much of that do you contribute? How many trees are you sustaining? How many hectares of the plantations are you sustaining? That's why we go back to the forestry partners. We tell them, these are the numbers. We see it on the ground that today we are taking these cubic meters of timber. We come back to the drawing board, we calculate, and we saw that, oh, actually, if we take this amount of timber from you, this is the amount you are going to replant. If someone sees such kind of information, they will have strong trust in you, and they will even feel that they should be part of the solution. Otherwise, if you don't explain to people, the kind of people will have doubt and say, I don't want to be part of the greenwashing campaign, whatever.
Yeah. I have no doubt at all. Agile Media is in the same business community as you are. Brian, I don't know if you know that. No tip. One of our meeting places was at your premises. So it was nice to actually see your prototype and see how viable it really is. So I do recommend that whoever can, please check out Easy Housing and also request viewing or a demo and get to know this further. Thank you so much, Brian, for your time. Miss Betty, do you have any remarks?
I like that he mentioned that the main form of communications was user-generated content, which is really what is the most effective, especially for such a niche. What you're doing is very niche, so it would need a lot of testimonials.
Brian, please share with us what you'd want the policymakers to know about your industry.
As a timber construction company that is operating in these emerging economies, probably in sub-Saharan Africa, one of the things that we would look out into for the policymakers is to join us, to be part of the solution. I know when you go to the global statistics, you'll see that they say that Uganda contributes a small impact to the global greenhouse gases. But I feel like if it is put at the core of every organization out there that they should live in sustainable environments, and they should also be accountable for whatever they are doing, I think it will make sense. In this space, Easy Housing is building houses, but it will be very important for all the policymakers out there, at least to have a way they put it in their policies, whereby everyone should be part of this solution. Either you, because I know different organizations have staff members, they will need homes. But if they continue building houses with brick and mortar, because it's not there's no policy there that is abolishing it, but there is a policy that at least says that your house should be green. At least you should have your office that has been built out of timber. This will be contributing to a greater effect. And also, I would say that every organization needs to be also transparent. They should also communicate their impact, because a lot of consumers out there, they just buy things, but they don't care where these things are coming from. They don't care how people at the bottom of the pyramid are treated to get this product to them. For instance, you can move sometimes around the cities, around the slums. You find a lot of garbage, a lot of plastics that have been dumped on the ground. Then you ask yourself, if at all each organization was accountable, there was a policy that makes each organization to be accountable of where this polythene that is being produced from the environment, where is it going to end? Then it will be making a lot of sense. Because you will see, actually, I feel like Easy Housing is, the entire house has been built completely sustainable. From the foundation itself, the foundation is built from burnt plastics mixed with a big foundation block. And this foundation block is where the house is sitting on. But each block can store around 80 kilograms of plastic. So we are trying to see that at least there is a cleaner environment everywhere. And there should be at least policies in place that while Easy Housing is fighting to reduce plastics by using the recycled foundation blocks, there is also a policy that is trying to eliminate them completely from the entire chain. Easy Housing Concepts Uganda Limited is located on Lusuli Avenue, Mpanga Close, plot 11, at a place called Venture Labs. Just communicate to us that I'm coming to see that beautiful house that you have been talking about. You will see the result will speak for themselves more than I'm speaking for them. Yeah, we want people out there to come and join us. And thank you so much, Agile Media, for giving us this space. It's one way we are communicating our impact and reaching that big goal.
Brian from Easy Housing, Betty from Agile Media, and myself for taking this time off on a Friday evening and making sure that we actually benefit from communication strategies to highlight our eco-friendly impacts organizations are partaking in.